The chamber of the Galactic Council glowed with cold light. Thousands of alien delegates filled the seats, their eyes shining in every color of the spectrum. Holographic banners floated above them, symbols of empires that had stood for millennia. Voices buzzed in 100 languages until a sharp tone silenced the hall. The great display lit up on the screen. A barren world came into view. Cracked deserts, black mountains, a sky choked with storms. A prison world. Then there, under the burning sun, a group of ragged humans stumbled across the dust. Their bodies were thin, their clothes torn. But their eyes, those eyes still burned with fire. A ripple of cruel laughter swept the chamber. The alien nobles whispered to one another, their tendrils twitching, their mandibles clicking. "Look at them," hissed a scaled diplomat from the Avar Dominion. "The death world vermin, running from glory. They will not last a cycle." Another, a crystalline being of the Zell Coalition, flickered with bright amusement. "Fragile bones, slow reflexes, soft flesh, and yet they still resist capture. Why do they not accept their fate?" The Speaker of the Council raised his many-jointed arms. "Observe, honored delegates. Today we remind the galaxy what humans truly are prey." The scene shifted. On the desert floor, massive cages opened. Hunting beasts poured out, creatures with triple jaws, plated hides, and claws like swords. The humans froze for a single heartbeat. A woman clutched her child, tighter. A young soldier, no more than 20, stumbled, blood staining his torn uniform. The aliens in the council chamber leaned forward, eager to see the slaughter. They always enjoyed this. Humans had been hunted for generations, captured from their dying world, scattered across the stars, and thrown into arenas. The council believed it was sport. They believed humans were weak, but on that day, everything began to change. The feed zoomed close. The young human soldier was breathing hard, his face pale, sweat streaking the dirt on his skin. The beast's roar thundered in the thin desert air. It charged, claws raised. The crowd of aliens laughed louder, their voices a chorus of cruel delight, yet the human did not run. He looked up at the storming monster, his chest rising and falling, his broken ribs screaming with pain. And then he roared back. It was not the cry of prey. It was not the scream of fear. It was the sound of a predator who refuses to die. His eyes blazed with a fire the aliens had never seen. He grabbed a broken spear from the sand and sprinted toward the beast. The counselors froze mid-laughter. The beast leaped. The human swung. Screen turned white with static. Gasps filled the council chamber. Voices rose in disbelief. What happened? The transmission restore it. Did that human fight back? On the council's upper balconies, the elder of the core ascendancy, his many eyes blinking in alarm, whispered, "This should not be. Humans are incapable of such defiance. They were broken long ago." But the chamber fell silent again when new alarms rang. A harsh siren split the air. Red lights pulsed across the walls. The council's AI voice echoed coldly. Unidentified vessel entering system. Mass signature. Extreme power output. Unclassified. Trajectory. Intercept. The delegates turned back to the great display. From the edge of the storm, space itself seemed to tear apart. A wormhole bloomed open, bright enough to blind.
Out
of the rift slid a shape so vast it blocked the stars. A ship, a Titan class. Human warship. It was not sleek like the alien cruisers. It was brutal, angular hull plates of ancient metal, scarred by forgotten battles, glowing with blue veins of energy. Entire cities could have fit inside its frame. Its silhouette spread like the wings of some mythic beast from humanity's long-lost Earth. The laughter in the chamber died completely. Now there was only silence and fear. Far above the prison world, aboard the Vanguard, Admiral Mara Saeed stood at the command deck. Her black uniform was cut with silver trim, the emblem of Earth's fallen nation sewn over her chest. Her face bore old scars, her eyes sharp and unyielding. "Status of the weapon systems?" she asked, her voice steady. "All batteries online? Gravitic cannons charging?" replied Lieutenant Ramos, his hands dancing across glowing consoles. On the main viewport, Mara could see the alien hunters scrambling, their warships turning, weapons spooling up. They had always believed no human ships had survived the burning of Earth. They had no idea. Mara remembered the last day of Earth. The sky split with fire. Oceans boiled, cities turned to ash, but humanity had been ready, the shadows and hidden. Shipyards buried beneath ice and rock, the Titans were built. Warships so vast, so unyielding. They were meant to carry Earth's survivors across the stars. But Earth was destroyed before the fleet could launch. Only one Titan survived, the Vanguard, and now the galaxy would see it. Mara's voice was low, meant for her crew alone. They called us prey. They hunted our children for sport. Today they will learn. The alien flagship, a fortress of silver and bone, rotated its massive cannons toward the Vanguard. Plasma fire streaked across the void, hammering the Titan's shields. The bridge shook violently, sparks raining from the ceiling. Shields. At 97%, reported Ramos. They're giving us everything they've got. Mara didn't flinch. She stared at the Council's feed. Knew billions of alien eyes were watching. She wanted them to see. She wanted them to remember. Target. Their flagship, she ordered. Yes, Admiral. On the display, the Titan's gravitational cannons locked onto the enemy ship. Vast rings spun, glowing brighter, pulling energy from the storm itself. The hum grew so loud it rattled bones. In the council chamber, delegates covered their ears. A shadow of dread fell across their faces. One whispered the ancient word, almost a prayer. Deathworlders. The cannons fired. A single lance of white-blue energy ripped across the void, tearing reality itself. The alien flagship split in two, its hull screaming as fire and debris scattered like shattered glass into space. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some aliens shrieked in rage. Others trembled in silence. The idea of humans as harmless prey had just been shattered before their eyes. On the prison world, the freed human child looked to the sky, the reflection of the colossal warship glowing. In her eyes, the Vanguard's captain leaned forward, her voice a whisper filled with fire. Message to the Council. Patch me through. The feed cut. The aliens leaned forward, their bodies tense. Mara appeared on the galactic display. Her scarred face filled the chamber. Her eyes were cold, unyielding. Her voice thundered across 1,000 worlds. We are not your prey. We are your predators. The screen went black. Alarms echo in the council chamber. Sensor officer shouts, more human signatures detected. Multiple Titan-class warships inbound? The aliens rise from their seats, their faces pale with shock and fear. The galaxy has no idea what's coming. The void trembled. On the Galactic Council's vast holographic display, the fractured wreckage of the alien flagship drifted like burning embers. Sparks of plasma flared and died. Billions of viewers across the galaxy sat frozen before their screens, struggling to process what they had just seen. A single human warship, ancient, rusted, scarred, had torn apart a vessel 10 times its size in one shot. In the council chamber, voices erupted. This is impossible, shrieked a core delegate, its translucent eyes bulging. Humanity has no fleets. Their world was ashes centuries ago, roared a Skaldivar general. They were exterminated, hissed another. This must be some council trick. Above them, the holographic feed flickered again. The storm at the system's edge still churned like a cosmic hurricane. From within, something stirred. The nebula split apart, as though the universe itself feared what was coming. Another shape was forming. The delegates leaned forward, their faces pale with disbelief. The council. Speaker's voice cracked as he whispered the words that billions of aliens had dreaded to hear. Another one. Another Titan. The screen went white again as the second human warship emerged, its massive silhouette dwarfing even the debris of the alien dreadnought. On the bridge of the HSS Vanguard, Admiral Mara Saeed stood tall, her hands clasped behind her back. The deck vibrated faintly beneath her boots as the Titan-class engines hummed with ancient power. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Ramos, his voice still trembling with awe. Long-range scans confirm it to more human signatures. The Resolute and the Obsidian Dawn, they're awakening. Mara's lips tightened into a thin smile. The others survived. The crew stared at her, some in shock, some in awe. For years they had believed the Vanguard was the last remnant of Earth's might, a single lonely fortress in a galaxy that had forgotten humanity. But now they were no longer alone. "Signal them," Mara commanded. "Tell them the hunt has begun." In orbit, the alien fleet tried one last desperate maneuver. Hundreds of warships converged on the Vanguard, their weapons firing in a storm of plasma and antimatter torpedoes. The void itself lit up, a burning ocean of energy. The Titan's shields flared, cracked, then stabilized. "Return fire," Mara commanded. From the Titan's hull, 1,000 cannons answered. Rail slugs pierced ships before they could even raise defenses. Gravitic beams bent space itself, pulling enemy destroyers into one another like toys in the distance. The newly awakened Resolute and Obsidian Dawn broke through the storm, their colossal frames gliding into formation. The three Titans aligned. In a triangle, their weapons blazing in unison. The alien fleet, once confident, once proud, was being annihilated in minutes. But just as victory seemed certain, the Vanguard's sensors screamed. "Admiral," Ramos shouted. "New contact sector. 7-9, mass reading. Enormous. Bigger than anything we've ever scanned." The display lit up. From hyperspace, a shadow larger than a moon tore its way into the system. The alien super dreadnought, a fortress of unimaginable scale, bristling with cannons that glowed like miniature suns. In the council chamber, alien delegates rose in relief. At last, the Leviathan class of the council will crush them. But Mara's eyes narrowed. Her voice was cold, steady. "That is not a Leviathan." On the edge of the storm, something stirred. Larger than the Vanguard, larger than the alien. Dreadnought, a shape ancient and terrible, began to emerge from the void. The true Leviathan. Humanity's greatest warship. The screen went black. The Galactic Council. Spires shook with a sound no alien had ever heard before. Silence. For centuries, the chamber had roared with the certainty of dominance. Thousands of voices, countless empires, all secure in the belief that they ruled the stars. But now, as the shattered remains of the Council's prideful dreadnought burned on the holographic display, no one dared to laugh. Every delegate stared upward, their faces a storm of fear. The hologram of the battlefield played on repeat. The Vanguard's gravitational cannon, carving through the dreadnought like a god's blade through glass. The Avar general's scales trembled. His voice cracked. "That ship, how?" Single human war machine cut down a vessel built to fight entire fleets. The crystalline scholar of the Zell Coalition flickered pale. "You fools. We buried their history for a reason. Humans are not prey. They are predators. From the most violent world in the galaxy." The council speaker slammed his staff against the marble floor, but the sound lacked authority. "Silence. We are the law of the stars. No extinct species can threaten us." A younger delegate rose, her eyes glowing with fear. "Exterminated? You lied to us? You promised humanity?" Was gone. "You promised." The hall erupted again in chaos. Screams, accusations, threats. Empires that had once united to enslave humanity now pointed claws and talons at each other. The entire galaxy was watching their leaders tear themselves apart, and then the chamber lights dimmed. A cold blue glow spread across the central display. A new transmission forced its way into every screen across the Council's network. Admiral Mara Saeed appeared, her face filling the chamber. Her scar caught the light. Her eyes burned with a predator's fire. "You call us prey," she said softly. "You think we are broken? You think we are forgotten? But humanity endures. We were forged in fire and war on a world that tried to kill us every day. And now," she leaned forward, her voice a razor across the silence, "now we hunt." The council chamber erupted into absolute panic. On the Vanguard's bridge, alarms continued to scream. The alien super dreadnought had fully emerged. From hyperspace, blotting out the stars, its hull glimmered with 1,000 cannons, each one capable of erasing a continent. Lieutenant Ramos's voice shook. "Admiral, their main weapon is charging. Energy levels off the scale. It fires." Mara stood, her dark uniform catching the glow of the warning lights. "If it fires, it will regret it."
Out.
The crew looked to her with absolute trust. They had grown up hearing the same story tales of old Earth wars, of predators who never surrendered, who fought until the last breath. To the galaxy, those were myths. To the children of the Titans, they were history lessons. "Open a channel to the Resolute and the Obsidian Dawn," Mara ordered. "Channel open. Form the triad. Show them what it means to wake the wolves." On the Super Dreadnought's bridge, Overlord Zeroth loomed above his officers. His massive, armored frame cast shadows across the command dais. "These humans are relics," he growled, his voice like stone grinding against steel. "We will show the galaxy that prey must never rise above its station. Fire the Starlance." The Dreadnought's core began to burn, its weapon arrays glowing like a second sun. The council chamber erupted in cheers, desperate for reassurance. Delegates pounded their claws and tentacles against the floor. Finally, order would be restored. The beam lanced outward an ocean of blinding white fire. It struck the Vanguard's shields with the force of a dying star. The entire Titan shook. Metal screamed. Consoles flared. Crew members were thrown from their stations. "Shields down to 60%, shouted Ramos, his voice hoarse. "Secondary." Relays failing. Ship rocked again as more enemy cruisers joined the assault. The void became a storm of fire. A burning cage meant to suffocate the human fleet. For the first time, silence spread across the Vanguard's bridge. For a heartbeat, it seemed as if humanity's rise would end as quickly as it began. Admiral Mara stood firm as sparks rained down. Blood dripped from a cut across her forehead. But her eyes never wavered. She looked at her crewmen and women who had been raised in the belly of a Titan, trained since childhood for this very moment. They were tired. They were wounded. But they were unbroken. She raised her voice. "They think we are prey. They think we will bow again. But we are humanity. We do not kneel. We do not break. We fight until the stars themselves burn out." Words lit fire in the crew's eyes. Hands steadied on controls. Soldiers gripped their weapons tighter. A murmur passed across the deck for Earth. "Target the Super Dreadnought," Mara ordered. "Admiral, the Vanguard alone cannot. I did not say we would face it alone." At that moment, the sensors screamed again. The tactical display shifted. Dozens of red enemy contacts surrounded them, but now there were new blue signatures. The Resolute and the Obsidian Dawn roared into formation, their titanic frames blotting out more stars. Their weapons charged in perfect synchronization, energy building into a deafening hum that shook even the Council's holographic chamber light years away in the Council spire. The alien leaders froze. Holograms displayed the growing formation of 3 human Titans, their cannons glowing like suns. "This is not possible," whispered the Zell scholar. "We destroyed their world. We buried their history. How many of these monsters did they build?" A counselor with silver mandibles hissed, "If they still have dozens of Titans?" The speaker's many eyes darted around the chamber. "If they return, everything we built, our fleets, our power, our order, it all ends." But no one laughed now. No one dared. The galaxy had changed forever, and every empire knew it. On the prison world below, freed humans stared at the sky. As 3 Titans aligned, their hulls glowing with ancient power. Soldiers in black exosuits stood guard, their faces lit with determination. A little girl tugged on her mother's sleeve and pointed upward. "Mama, what's that?" From the edge of the storm, the stars vanished. Something even larger than the Titans was emerging. The camera zoomed out. A shadow darker than space itself slid into view. Its size dwarfed the Titan-class ships. A vessel older, stronger, terrifying in its silence. On the Vanguard's bridge, Mara's eyes narrowed. She whispered a single word, and every human on board felt a shiver run through them. Leviathan. The screen fades to black. But victory came at a cost. Sensors screamed with new alarms. Admiral Ramos shouted, his face pale. "We've confirmed it. The Leviathan isn't the only one. Dozens of Titans are waking, across the galaxy." Mara turned to the display. One by one, new blue signatures lit up star maps across alien space. Oceans boiled, mountains cracked, and from the depths of forgotten worlds, more Titan-class warships rose into the void. The council chamber fell silent as the data streamed in, entire sectors lit with human power. The aliens, once conquerors, were now surrounded by predators they had thought extinct. The speaker's voice faltered. "If they unite, if they march, nothing in the galaxy will survive." Back in orbit, the Leviathan's colossal frame moved forward. Its weapons glowed brighter, casting a neon halo across the void. Admiral Mara's voice was steady, her scarred face lit in blue light. "Today, we end the age of fear. Humanity does not beg. Humanity does not bow. Humanity hunts." The camera zoomed in on her burning eyes. Then another alarm. A new signature, massive, but not human. Ramos turned, his voice shaking. "Admiral, something else is coming, bigger than the Leviathan." The bridge fell silent. Outside the viewport, the stars began to vanish as another colossal shadow emerged from hyperspace. This one alien, older, and armed with a weapon that made even the Titans seem small. The screen cuts to black. The void itself seemed to tear apart. The Leviathan had already stunned the galaxy by surviving the Council's most powerful weapon. Its colossal silhouette loomed like a mountain in space, its hull lit with rivers of glowing blue fire. But now, a second shadow emerged from hyperspace fast. Ancient. Alien. The Council's prime colossus. It was older than most living empires. Built when the first species of the Council still clawed their way into the stars. Forged from the bones of a collapsed neutron star, it stretched across thousands of kilometers. Bristling with planet-killer cannons, on the Galactic Council spire, every delegate rose to their feet, their voices trembling between hope and terror. "The Prime awakens," cried the Avar general, his scaled chest swelling with pride. No predator can stand against it." The holographic display magnified the ancient warship. The Colossus glowed with a sickly green light, its engines humming with destructive power. The weapon arrays began to unfold like the petals of a monstrous flower. Inside the spire, alien faces turned toward one another. Some were ecstatic, others pale with dread. The speaker's many eyes trembled, his voice hollow. "If the humans fall to the Prime, order will be restored. But if they survive..." He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Billions of aliens watching across the galaxy already whispered the word, humanity. And in that moment, aboard the Vanguard, Admiral Mara Sade locked eyes with the impossible shadow forming on her display. Her lips pressed into a hard line. "Predators or prey," she murmured. "The galaxy is about to find out." The screen shook as the Colossus's main cannon charged, its glow turning the void into a storm of emerald fire. On the bridge of the Leviathan, Commander Juno Kale stood at the heart of the ancient vessel. The ship's interior was like a cathedral of steel and light-vaulted ceilings. Glowing conduits, consoles older than memory, but alive with power. "Core is at 60%, reported a young officer, her voice tight with awe. "Systems. They're responding to us as if they've been waiting." Juno's jaw tightened. He had studied the legends of Earth's final war since childhood, whispered stories of Titans forged in secret. But standing here, feeling the deck tremble with ancient power, he realized the truth. The legends had underestimated the Leviathan. "Bring the spinal array online," he ordered. "We'll show them what Earth built when it prepared to die." Ship responded like a living thing. Massive energy conduits snapped open, channeling power from the heart of the vessel. Across its kilometer-long hull, glowing blue glyphs ignited, flaring against the darkness. In the distance, the Colossus unleashed its fury. A beam of green fire stretched across the void, twisting space, ripping reality apart. Smaller human ships evaporated instantly. The Resolute reeled, half its hull torn away, flames consuming entire decks. On the Vanguard's bridge, alarms screamed. "Resolute is hit. Casualties in the thousands," Ramos shouted. His voice cracked with rage. Mara's eyes hardened. She looked at the glowing Leviathan. "Now would be a good time, Commander." Then it happened. The Leviathan's core erupted. Not with a single beam, not with a focus shot, but with a storm. Dozens of lances of white-blue gravitational energy exploded outward, slicing across the void. Alien cruisers were torn apart like paper. Battleships crumpled as their hulls folded inward, crushed by invisible hands. The Council's Colossus reeled. One of its massive weapon petals shattered, fragments of neutronium spinning into the storm. The entire chamber of the Galactic Council gasped as their god machine bled. "This is not possible," screamed the speaker. "The Prime cannot fall." But the feed showed the truth. The Leviathan's weapons were not merely advanced, they were evolution's final word. Weapons built by a species that had survived ice ages, plagues, and wars, that burned continents. Weapons forged by a people who had learned through endless suffering that survival meant absolute dominance. The broadcast cut to close-ups on the council balcony. Alien leaders clutched at their robes, their eyes wide with terror. Some shouted, some prayed, some simply stared, their skin flickering with fear. The word humanity echoed through the chamber like a curse. On the Vanguard's bridge, Admiral Mara stood tall. Her scar caught the light, her eyes unflinching. Leaned forward as the ship rocked from the shockwaves. "Hold formation," she barked. "We are not prey. We are not victims. We are the hunters now. Fire all batteries." The Vanguard obeyed. Rail slugs screamed into the void, punching holes through alien cruisers. Plasma torpedoes ignited in blue fire, vaporizing entire wings of enemy fighters. The Obsidian Dawn opened its hull, releasing swarms of drones that tore into enemy ships like a cloud of metallic piranhas. Each drone carried a shard of Earth's ancient fury, drilling into alien hulls before detonating in white flame in the spire. Chaos turned to violence. The Avar general roared for total war. "Unite the fleets. Erase them before they spread." But the Zell scholar raised its crystal arms, glowing with desperate urgency. "You do not understand? Every strike against them only proves the legends true. They will rise stronger. They will remember. We must beg for peace before it is too late." The chamber erupted in physical conflict. Tentacles lashed out, claws scraped against marble, plasma blades were drawn. For the first time in centuries, the Council itself fractured under fear of humanity. On the battlefield, the Leviathan pressed forward, its weapons tearing open the Colossus's shields piece by piece. But the Prime was not yet finished. Admiral Ramos warned, "The Colossus is charging its core again. It fires." At full power, Mara's voice was calm, but inside her chest, her heart hammered like a war drum. She thought of Earth, the oceans boiling, the skies burning, billions screaming as the Council's fire fell. She thought of the child they had rescued, her wide eyes reflecting the glow of the Titans. "Then we show them," Mara said. "The fleet, prepare the Leviathan." Her officers looked at her, waiting. Mara raised her voice, her scar catching the light of the burning void. "For centuries, they called us prey. For centuries, they laughed while we bled. Today they will learn the truth. We are humanity. We are the apex predators of the galaxy." Her words echoed across the bridge, across the fleet, across the entire galaxy. The Leviathan's massive hull began to split open, revealing a hidden chamber at its core. Glowing glyphs spiraled outward like constellations being born. A low hum filled the void, shaking even the stars. On the Council's display, the alien delegates stared in horror. "What? What are they doing?" whispered one. The Zell scholar's crystalline body pulsed with dread. They are unlocking the old weapon, the one we swore could never exist. The Colossus's cannon reached full charge, Son of Emerald. Fire grew at its center, ready to unleash devastation across the system. On the Vanguard's bridge, Ramos turned, his face pale, sweat dripping down his brow. "Admiral, if that thing fires, even the Leviathan might not survive." Mara's eyes never wavered. She stepped forward, her voice steady, a whisper and a command all at once. "Then we strike first." The Leviathan's core blazed with white-blue fire. Energy surged through its colossal veins, brighter than any star, until the void itself seemed to tremble. The camera zoomed in on Mara's face, scarred, fierce, illuminated by the glow. Her eyes burned with unstoppable resolve. The final words rang across the galaxy. "The hunt is over. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The predators have returned." The Leviathan unleashed its fury. The screen cut to black. Meanwhile, panic spread through the Council's spire. The towering amphitheater, once a place of cold, calculated politics, now roared with shouts. "This cannot be. The humans were primitive," cried the insectoid ambassador of the Vorlix hive. "Its wings trembling." "They were never primitive," muttered the crystalline Zell scholar, its facets flickering with a warning glow. "We buried their history. We told ourselves they were weak. But I've seen the old archives. I know what their kind once did. They burned their own world before surrendering." A massive reptilian warlord slammed his clawed fist against the marble bench. "Lies. No world-dweller can stand against the fleets of the Council." As if mocking him, the holographic display lit up again. This time the image was clearer. 3 Titan-class human warships hovered over the prison planet, their hulls glinting with cold light. Each vessel was larger. Then mountains, bristling with weapons no alien had names for. A hush fell over the Council as the realization spread. These were not ships built yesterday. These were relics of a lost war, relics that had survived in silence, waiting. The speaker's voice shook. "If they truly are Titans, then we are no longer the hunters." On the desert world below, the survivors huddled together in fear and hope. The air shook as drop pods screamed down from orbit, slamming into the sand with earth-shaking force. The pods cracked open. From the smoke, figures emerged, towering humans clad in black exosuits, helmets glowing with pale blue visors. Each soldier carried a weapon that hissed with contained energy, humming with restrained violence. One alien overseer roared and charged with a plasma spear. A human marine met it head-on, his gauntleted fist shattering the weapon like glass. In one swift move, he lifted the alien and hurled it into the dust. The prisoners stared in shock. Many had grown up believing humanity was weak, broken, and scattered. Now, they saw their own kind armored in steel, moving like storms, their faces lit with fire. A child whispered, "Are they gods?" The human marine knelt before her, lifted his visor, and showed his scarred, weary face. "No," he said. "Quietly, we're just human, and we've come home." On the Council's display, alien leaders trembled as they watched the impossible rescue. Humans moved with ruthless coordination. Cutting through the hunters like blades of light, then, the feed shifted again. A human woman appeared on screen, framed by the metallic walls of the warship's command deck. Her dark hair was streaked with silver, her eyes sharp as knives. She stood tall, shoulders squared, her presence filling the chamber as if she were there in person. Admiral Mara said, "I am speaking to the Galactic Council," she said, her voice steady and cold. "For centuries you have taken our children. You called us prey, you hunted us for your amusement. You thought Earth was dead? You were wrong." Murmur spread through the chamber. Some delegates shouted for her broadcast to be cut, others demanded answers. Mara ignored them all. "Humanity remembers," she said. "We remember the fire that fell from the skies. We remember the chains. Remember the laughter of your kind while our children bled. We were silent, because we were waiting for the day we would rise." She leaned forward, her scar catching the light, her eyes like burning steel. "That day has come," before the Council could respond. The chamber's alarms wailed again. The holographic display zoomed out, revealing a horrifying sight. Not 3,
Not 5,
but dozens of massive energy signatures appeared across the galaxy. One by one, Titan-class warships were awakening from their hidden tombs on moons. Beneath oceans, buried in asteroid fields, each ship a giant from Earth's forgotten past, each one roaring to life with ancient power. The speaker's voice cracked in terror. This is impossible. Humanity cannot have survived. They cannot. The Vanguard's bridge, Mara watched the new signatures appear. A slow, grim smile spread across her face. "Signal them all," she ordered. "The hunt is over. The war begins." The Leviathan, the largest of all the Titans, shifted in the storm, its weapons beginning to glow with terrible light. The screen cut to black. The galaxy was still reeling from the impossible sight. 3 human Titan-class warships floating above the prison world like steel gods. Their massive frames glowed with blue-white light, each weapon system humming as if it had awakened from a long slumber. In the council spire, panic erupted. Aliens shouted over one another, their voices cracking with fear. But General slammed his claws against the railing. "They are relics. They cannot fight. Fire on them, now burn them from the void before they awaken further." The speaker hesitated. The images replayed in the air footage of the human soldier charging the beast, followed by the Vanguard's single devastating shot ripping a flagship. Apart, the counselors shifted in unease. Was this the beginning of a war they had thought long finished? And then the chamber lights flickered. The council's AI voice echoed coldly through the hall. Multiple Titan-class energy signatures. Confirmed. Coordinates across 7 star systems. Estimated fleet strength. Rising. The silence was suffocating. Delegates stared at each other, unable to speak. A shadow loomed over the chamber as the Vanguard itself cut through the storm, weapons aimed. Engines burning like suns. On the display, a single order left the human ship. Target, enemy flagship. Gravitic cannons fire. A flash of white-blue light erupted from the Titan's core. The beam tore through the alien dreadnought, splitting it apart in seconds. Millions watched in horror as the greatest warship of the Council crumbled into molten shards. The feed turned to static once again. On board the Vanguard, alarms rang, but the crew barely flinched. They had trained for this moment since birth, drilled into a single purpose: to show the galaxy that humans were no longer prey. Admiral Mara Saeed's voice cut through the chaos. "Status?" Shields holding at 92% said. "Lieutenant Ramos. Enemy fleet in disarray. They're retreating?" "No, wait. They're regrouping. They're calling reinforcements." Mara's expression hardened. "Let them come. We need them to see." Behind her, giant tactical displays lit up, showing enemy fleets from nearby sectors, redirecting toward the prison world. Dozens of alien warships, bristling with weapons, closing in like predators, surrounding their prey. But Mara knew the truth. They weren't the hunters anymore. She turned toward her crew. Every man and woman, every scarred soldier in black armor, stared back at her with the same fire she carried in her heart. They were the last of Earth's children, raised aboard the hidden Titan. And now, with the other awakened warships answering the call, they were more than survivors. They were an armada of predators, returning to claim the stars. The alien fleet entered weapons range. Plasma lances lit up the void like burning suns. Explosions rolled across the shields of the Vanguard, painting the bridge in a hellish glow. Impact. "On deck 6, shouted a crewman. "No breach, but pressure is rising." Mara gripped the armrest of her command chair, her voice sharp and commanding. "Counterfire. Bring the rail batteries online. Let's target their carriers first." Massive cannons rotated along the Titan's armored hull. The guns fired, launching slugs the size of buildings at near-light speeds. Each impact tore through alien cruisers, ripping them in half, sending debris spiraling across space. On the prison world, freed humans watched from the sands below, The sky burned with light. To them, it was like seeing their ancestors return from the grave. A boy clutched his mother's arm. That's our ship. That's Earth's ship. His mother, eyes wide with tears, could only whisper, "They're back." The Galactic Council was silent, their faces pale. They had spent centuries mocking humans as fragile, weak, broken. And yet, in front of them, alien fleets that once ruled the stars were being torn apart like paper. "This is technology we have never seen," whispered the Zell scholar, its crystalline body flickering in terror. "Gravitic cannons, kinetic slugs, shields that drink our fire. This is not prey. This is war." The Avar general hissed. "Deploy the super dreadnought. If we fall here, every world will see us as weak. The humans must be erased." "Not!" Council speaker's voice cracked. "Do you not understand? If more of these titans awaken, no fleet we possess will be enough." A silence spread again, and in that silence, a new signal pierced the chamber. The display flickered once more. A close-up of Admiral Mara's face filled the air. Her eyes were cold, unflinching, yet alive with rage. "You watch us suffer," she said. "You laugh as our children are hunted. You call us prey, but you have forgotten what we are." She leaned closer, her scar catching the Council's light. "We are humanity, born of the most savage world in the galaxy, forged in fire, famine, and endless war. We are the HFY predators you feared in your legends, and we are done hiding." The chamber fell into chaos once more. Some demanded her immediate execution, others whispered of surrender. A few remained silent, their faces pale, their eyes wide with the knowledge that the galaxy's balance of power had just shifted forever. The desert world of Korath 7 was a graveyard of broken slaves. Winds howled across the cracked earth, carrying dust that stung the eyes and choked the lungs. For generations, humans had been abandoned here, hunted for sport by alien nobles who saw them as nothing more than fragile prey. Now, those same humans, starving, scarred, their bones sharp beneath thin skin, huddled together in the ruins of an old mining colony. Above them, the sky burned. 3 suns lit the horizon in shades of blood red and violet. Against the heavens, massive alien warships descended like predators with wings of steel. Their weapons glowed, ready to finish what they had started long ago. The slaves trembled. Some prayed, some wept. A mother clutched her daughter, whispering, "Lies of comfort. It will be quick. Close your eyes," and then the air itself screamed. From the black clouds overhead, fireballs tore through the atmosphere. Drop pods, hundreds of them, trailing tails of blue flame. The ground shook as they slammed into the sand around the camp, kicking up towers of smoke. Aliens laughed at first. "More prey? The humans send more livestock for us to feast upon?" They raised their weapons, their armored bodies shimmering in the harsh sunlight. The first pod cracked open. A hiss of steam. Shadow stepped out. A human soldier in a towering exosuit, plated in dark steel. His visor glowed an icy blue, reflecting the chaos around him. In his hands, he carried a weapon unlike anything the aliens had seen before. Massive kinetic rifle, its coils humming with restrained power. The slave children gasped. The alien hunters snarled. The soldier didn't flinch, raised his weapon, eyes locked forward. Targets acquired, his helmet voice growled. The rifle thundered once. A blazing slug ripped through an alien beast, tearing it apart mid-charge. The monster's body collapsed in the dust. The alien hunters froze, their laughter choking in their throats. The humans were fighting back. The other pods opened. Dozens of Marines emerged, their armor glowing with blue and red streaks of light. They moved with terrifying discipline, their boots pounding in unison. Each soldier carried weapons forged from the lost forges of Earth, weapons that spat death. Faster than alien eyes could follow, the first volley shredded the hunters. Alien warriors screamed as rail slugs and plasma blades tore through their ranks. The Marines advanced without fear, moving like wolves reclaiming their territory. The enslaved humans watched in stunned silence. For their entire lives they had been told humanity was extinct, broken, forgotten. And now they saw their own kind wielding weapons powerful enough to shatter the galaxy's strongest fleets. A young boy, clutching a piece of scrap metal as a makeshift weapon, looked up at one of them. "The armored soldiers? Are you really human?" The Marine paused, lifted his visor, and revealed a scarred, weathered face. His eyes were steel and fire. He knelt to meet the boy's gaze. "We're human. It's just like you. And we're here to take you home." Tears spilled down the boy's cheeks. For the first time in his life, he believed home was more than just a story, high above. The Galactic Council watched the impossible unfold. Alien leaders leaned forward in their seats as the feed displayed humans slaughtering their hunters with terrifying efficiency. The insectoid Vorlix ambassador shrieked, "They fight like monsters." "No, prey moves like this," Serpentine Warlord hissed in disbelief. "Those weapons, our sensors cannot read them. They bend space, tear through. Shields, this should not exist." The Zell scholar's crystalline body flickered violently. "We told you. We warned you of Earth." The Deathworlders were never weak. They were chained, broken, scattered but not gone. Their warships still breathe. The council chamber shook with fury and fear. Some shouted for total war. Others demanded peace talks before it was too late. But above them, the galaxy itself was already changing. Billions of alien citizens were watching the broadcast, seeing humans fight not as victims, but as predators. On the battlefield, the Vanguard's troops moved like shadows. They tore open slave pens, breaking chains, guiding survivors toward the glowing drop-dash pods. A group of aliens tried to rally. They raised their energy cannons, their voices shrill. But before they could fire, a squad of Marines leaped across the sand, their exosuits amplifying their strength tenfold. One soldier caught a plasma bolt on his armored chest plate, shrugging it off, and drove a blade of burning energy straight through the alien commander. The prisoners gasped, some recoiled. Others shouted with joy. For the first time, they saw the truth. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was terrifying. Above, the alien fleet tried to crush the Titans, hurling everything they had into the storm. Plasma torpedoes, gravitic lances, ion storms, yet the Titans held. Their shields flared, their cannons thundered, an alien. Ships fell one after another, back in the council chamber. The Zell scholar rose, its crystal form glowing like a dying star. "You fools," it cried. "Do you not see? These are not new ships. They are ancient. Relics of a war that ended before your species crawled from your oceans. The humans built them to survive their world, a world of fire, poison, and death. If they have returned, then the legends are true." The predators of Earth walk again. Council speaker slammed his staff, but his voice quivered. "Order, we will not surrender to myths." But even as he spoke, messages poured in from across the galaxy. Worlds were reporting new Titan signatures, awakening from slumber beneath oceans, mountains, and moons. The Council's illusion of dominance was crumbling. On the Vanguard's bridge, Mara stood at the viewport, her hands clasped tightly behind her back. "Admiral," Ramos reported, "the prisoners are boarding. Extraction complete in 5 minutes. But the alien fleet isn't retreating. They're calling for reinforcements." "More signatures incoming," Mara's jaw tightened. "Then we finish this quickly." The ship shook again as the alien super dreadnought fired. Shields flared dangerously. Crew members steadied themselves against the blast. "Status of the Leviathan?" Mara asked. "Still powering up, Admiral," a technician replied, his voice trembling. "Systems are ancient, but it's waking." Mara's eyes hardened. She looked back at the view of the prison planet below her, people climbing into pods. Their faces a mix of fear and hope. The Council's laughter still echoed in her mind, but now it was gone, placed by silence and dread. She whispered to herself, "They will never hunt us again." The last drop pod launched into the sky, carrying the freed humans toward the waiting Titans. Alien cruisers turned their cannons, desperate to destroy the pods before they reached safety. Plasma fire streaked across the heavens. "Admiral," Ramos shouted, "they're targeting the civilians." The Marines on the surface looked up in horror as glowing bolts fell toward the rising pods. Mothers screamed. Children clung to soldiers in armored arms. Mara's voice cut through the chaos. "Steady, but burning. Bring the Vanguard's main cannon online and intercept those shots. Now." Titan's core roared to life, glowing brighter than the suns themselves. The camera zoomed on Mara's face calm, scarred eyes filled with steel and fury. The screen went black. The Galactic Council spire was built to inspire awe. Its crystalline pillars stretched into the void, its chamber carved from a hollowed asteroid bathed in starlight. For centuries, alien delegates had sat here, smug and secure, ruling the galaxy with a single voice. But tonight, the spire shook with fear. Every balcony trembled with voices raised in panic. The holographic display above the chamber showed the impossible. 3 human Titan-class warships ripping apart the Council's finest fleet. On every alien world, citizens were watching. Billions of eyes were locked on the scene. The image shifted. The alien super-dreadnought, the Council's most powerful weapon, loomed across the stars. Its colossal cannons glowed brighter than suns, preparing to erase the humans in one devastating blast. Then, something else appeared. From the heart of the storm, the void itself cracked. Shadow emerged, so vast it blotted out constellations. Its hull was jagged steel, scarred by centuries, yet alive with glowing rivers of blue light. The Leviathan, humanity's greatest warship, had awakened. The council chamber fell silent again. The delegates stared up at the monstrous vessel, their faces pale, their bodies trembling. One of the insectoid Vorliks whispered, voice broken by fear, by the void. "How many of these things did the humans build?" The Zell scholar rose slowly, its crystalline body glowing faintly. "You don't understand," it said. "Titans were not their greatest weapons. They were their arcs. The Leviathan has risen, then the ancient records are true. Humanity did not die with Earth. They hid. They prepared. The chamber erupted into chaos. Accusations flew. Some shouted for immediate surrender. Others demanded the extermination of every last human before the legend spread further. And then, without warning, chamber's lights flickered. The central display shifted once more. A single image filled the hall, a close-up of Admiral Mara Saeed's face. Her eyes blazed like twin stars. Her voice was cold, but every word carried the weight of a storm. "You buried our history. You called us extinct. You turned our children into prey." Her scarred lips curled into a grim smile. "But history remembers what you choose to forget. Let me remind you." On the Council's distant archive world of Thrixus Prime, a trembling scholar hurried into the restricted vaults. The halls were lined with ancient data crystals, each one containing secrets the Council had hidden for centuries. He inserted a shard into the reader. Blue light filled the chamber, projecting scenes older than most empires. The footage showed Earth not the burned husk it had become, but a vibrant world, oceans roaring, forests endless, and then war cities burning, nuclear firestorms, human armies tearing at one another with weapons of impossible destruction. Entire landscapes turned to glass. The scholar's many limbs shook as he watched. They lived like this every century. On their own world? No wonder their flesh is hard as iron. No wonder their eyes burn like stars.
Days.
He activated another crystal. This one showed the construction of the Leviathan-class warships. Colossal vessels built in secret beneath the oceans of Earth, their hulls forged from metals born in the planets. Most violent tectonic forges, each ship was designed not only for war but for survival. Carriers, foundries, arcs, all in one. A fleet built by a species who had known nothing but conflict, famine, and struggle. The scholar's voice broke into a whisper. They were not destroyed, they endured, and now they return. Orbit above Korth 7, the Leviathan loomed fully into the system. Its sheer size dwarfed even the Council's super dreadnought. On the Vanguard's bridge, the crew stared in awe. The ship's hull stretched for kilometers, surface alive with shifting patterns of light. as if the Leviathan itself were waking from a long dream. Lieutenant Ramos whispered, "Admiral, it's real." Mara's expression softened for a single moment. She remembered being a child, hearing whispers in the corridors of the Vanguard, that one day, the greatest of Earth's warships would rise again. She had never truly believed she would live to see it. Her voice was steady. "Hail the Leviathan. Tell them humanity has returned." The cum crackled. A deep voice echoed across the bridge, ancient and powerful. "This is Leviathan Prime. We answer the call. The hunt ends now." The alien super dreadnought fired again. A beam of white fire lanced across the void, slamming into the Leviathan. The counselors leaned forward, desperate to see the human relic destroyed. But the Leviathan did not move. Its shields flared like a second sun, swallowing the energy, bending it, consuming it. When the light faded, the great ship still hovered. Untouched on the council spire's balconies, several delegates collapsed in despair. Others screamed at the speaker, "This is the end. They will destroy us all. Negotiate. Surrender before it is too late." Speaker's many eyes darted across the chamber. For the first time in history, the Galactic Council trembled. The feed shifted. Again, not just one face this time, but hundreds. Humans, across the stars, freed from their chains, stared into the cameras with blazing eyes. Soldiers in exosuits stood behind them like iron statues. A chorus of voices filled the galaxy. "We are humanity. We're the children of Earth. We are the predators you tried to erase, but you failed. We endure." On 1,000 alien worlds, ordinary citizens watched in silence. Mothers held their children closer. Warriors shifted uneasily in their armor. Words spread like fire across the stars. Humans have returned. On Korath 7, the last slave transports lifted off the sand. The Marines stood guard, their weapons raised as the alien fleet tried desperately to stop them. Plasma fire streaked through the sky, but the Vanguard's cannons intercepted each blast. Slugs tearing through the enemy before the pods were struck. The rescued humans wept as the pods latched onto the Titans. They were free. But freedom came with a price. On the Leviathan's bridge, the deep voice of its commander growled, "Admiral Saeed, the Council will not stop. They will burn every world we touch. To save our kind, we must strike first." Mara's jaw tightened. She stared at the tactical display, at the hundreds of red enemy fleets converging across the galaxy. "Then we'll show them," she said. "We'll remind them what it means to awaken predators." The Leviathan's weapons flared brighter than the sun's. The ship began to move, its shadows sweeping across the stars. And in the council chamber, the speaker raised his many arms, voice trembling. "They are coming for us all." The screen went black. The galaxy held its breath. On every world connected to the Galactic Council's broadcast net, billions of aliens stared upward at their holoscreens. Some crowded in marketplaces, some in palaces of crystal and gold, others in shadowed warrens deep beneath alien oceans. They all saw the same impossible sight, a colossal human Leviathan class warship tearing free from a storm at the edge of Korath 7. Its size was beyond comprehension. Stretching like a continent across the void, the ship's hull glowed with rivers of molten blue energy, each line pulsing like veins filled with lightning. Beside it, the Vanguard, the Resolute, and the Obsidian Dawn roared in unison, their weapons humming as they locked on to the Council's proudest creation, the super dreadnought Xyroth's Wrath. Inside the Council spire, silence reigned once more. The speaker's many eyes flicked in terror across the chamber, but even he could not stop the broadcast. Alien leaders clutched at their robes, their scaled hands trembling, their bioluminescent skin pulsing with fear. 3 Titans. And now, a Leviathan, whispered a thin, long-necked counselor.
Ass!
This cannot be. The humans were dust. On the display, the Leviathan's first weapon began to charge. Tire arcs of lightning crawled across its hull. The energy built until the stars themselves seemed to vanish, and then the super dreadnought fired first, A beam of annihilation cut across the void. Brighter than a star's birth, swallowing the Leviathan in white light, the alien chamber erupted. "In cheers see, prey cannot face gods," shouted the Avar general. The cheering died in seconds. The light cleared. The Leviathan was still there, unmoved, untouched. Its shields shimmered with cold blue fire. On the Vanguard's bridge, Admiral Mara Saeed's lips curved into a grim smile. "They have no idea what's coming," the Leviathan answered with silence, then fury. Its main cannon fired. A lance of gravitational energy that did not just strike the enemy super-dreadnought, it tore space itself apart around it. The Council's mightiest ship twisted, plates snapping like dry leaves, till the massive vessel split in two and burned. On Korth 7 below, freed humans shielded their eyes as the sky lit up brighter than day. Children clung to their rescuers, staring in awe as alien ships once their jailers were torn apart like paper. Inside the council chamber, the crystalline Zell scholar spoke with a trembling voice. "I warned you. These ships were not built to fight. They were built to end wars. Humanity built them on a death world, where survival meant domination. Now the predators have returned." Some delegates screamed for unconditional surrender. Others shouted for revenge. The spire shook with chaos on the battlefield. The Titans moved as one. The Vanguard unleashed rail slugs the size of towers, each one ripping through alien carriers. In a single strike, the Resolute launched swarms of autonomous drones, glowing like fireflies as they tore into enemy formations. The Obsidian Dawn unfolded panels across its hull, releasing arcs of pure energy that chained from ship to ship. Shattering them in storms of light, the aliens fought desperately. Their cruisers swarming like insects, their fighters buzzing in black waves. Plasma bolts rained against the Titan shields, but the humans stood firm. On the Vanguard's bridge, Mara barked orders. "Shift formation. Cover the drop pods at all costs. Every freed human must live to see another sunrise." "Yes, Admiral." Through the viewport, Mara saw the chaos. Alien ships collided as they fled the Titan's onslaught. A once proud fleet was reduced to burning wreckage. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned on paper, but in practice, they were predators among prey. The Council broadcast zoomed in on the alien commanders. A feline warlord hissed, its golden eyes wide with terror. "They fight like storms. They do not retreat. They do not fear death." The scaled Avar general slammed its claws against the floor, desperation in its movements. "If we fall today, the galaxy will never bow to us again." End 'em. But their words rang hollow. Every alien in the chamber could see it, the fear in their eyes, the tremor in their voices. The balance of power had already shifted. Billions of viewers across the stars whispered the same word, a word their rulers had forbidden for centuries: humanity. On the ground, the last of the drop pods lifted into the sky. Marines stood in a protective circle, firing into the waves of alien beasts. Their exosuits glowed in the dust storm, blades flashing, rifles roaring. A Marine was knocked down, beast's claws tearing through his armor. He screamed, but another soldier grabbed the alien by the throat, lifting it effortlessly, and snapped its neck in a single twist. The rescued humans stared in awe, their faces lit by fire and smoke. For the first time in centuries, they felt pride above them. The Vanguard unleashed another thunderous volley, tearing apart the ships that dared target the rising pods. The sky burned with fire. The humans rose into it, carried by steel and hope. Admiral Mara's voice echoed across the comes. "Every life matters. Every child matters. We leave no human behind." The crew roared in unison. For Earth, for humanity.